What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today we are basically recapping what happened last night in the fight between Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. We're also gonna watch this video about this YouTube channel called MMA on Point about Conor McGregor and about the fight last night. The recap on what happened last night, bro. I was live streaming and I ain't gonna hold you. I was tired of shit. I was tired as hell. It was real late last night and I had just got off of work. So I ended up ending the stream pretty early. But I woke up this morning and I seen the highlights of the fight, man. It damn sure wasn't, and it wasn't even highlights, bro. Like Conor McGregor, he had problems with his leg, and I don't think his leg definitely didn't fully recover. And he apparently just had a bad stroke of luck just coming into this fight, man. Like the first kick that he threw, we came out with a kick, and it just ended up being bad for him. I mean, like he looked injured even before he stepped into the octagon. In my opinion, I mean, I don't know if it happened during camp or a lot of people say that it happened during the ring walkout, but I don't know, man. It's just a crazy ass turn of events, man. And I was really hoping that this was gonna be a good ass fight, bro. Like, I really was rooting for Max Holloway, to be honest with you, but I wouldn't have mind seeing another Conor McGregor run in the UFC because I know how big he was, and I know that it could have brought back numbers to the UFC views and stuff like that. So it hurts to see things like this, man. But let's get into this video. MMA on Point is a great YouTube channel. I've been subscribed to them for a brick now, so let's get into this.
This is why you should never be excited for anything in your life. And this is why you should never spend money on mixed martial arts. I'm just joking slightly. Conor said his comeback would be historic, and he certainly wasn't wrong about that. That has to be the biggest disaster of a main event outcome in the history of the sport. It's certainly up there, if not number one. I mean, record gate. Dana said 80 million people watched the weigh-ins, and all those people that spent all that money for tickets, all those millions of people that tuned in.
Yeah, man. Imagine fucking paying for this shit, like going to pay for and watch it live.
Subscription tuned in to turn the clock back decades and see their favorite MMA fighter be their favorite MMA fighter. Mac is back. He's got his 2 belts. He's wearing fancy suits. He's talking trash at the presser. The old days are back. And then he walks out like he got visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley and jump kick nukes his knee in the opening seconds. I got more angry texts than I've ever received after an event from friends I don't even hear from on my birthday because I'm the MMA guy and they needed to tell somebody they weren't happy. Afterwards, me and Jason were comparing this to Randy Couture losing the title to Vitor Belfort via that accidental cut in the opening seconds of UFC 46's main event. This is so much worse. Back then, 15 people were watching mixed martial arts. Back then, it was just 18-year-old me pissed that I rented the only VHS copy of the event from Blockbuster without knowing it sucked. The scale of this moment is incomprehensible compared to UFC 46. And just like real life, anytime there's a baffling disaster, everybody's scrambling to figure out what exactly happened.
Kind of lucky that Max Holloway is
and so theories
is a
abounded
cool dude,
seconds
bro.
after Mike Beltran called the fight. Did Conor come into the fight injured? Did he explode so forcefully with that opening kick that a ligament in his knee just snapped on landing? Was it an ACL tear? Was it a meniscus? Did his entire knee implode and Conor is done for the rest of his life? Or will he be back in 6 to 8 weeks? Don't worry, we're gonna explore it all, baby. And let's start with
I feel like, bro,
did Conor
I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like even if he knew that he was injured before, he definitely shouldn't have threw that fucking kick if he felt like he was injured. So maybe he did just injure it after the kick. I'm not sure, man. It's a crazy ass turn of events.
Denied it after the fact on Twitter. But there's this little thing that humans can do called lying. So a denial doesn't necessarily rule out a previously existing injury. That said, without any other information, if this is all we ever get, while there will always be speculation, the narrative will probably default to his explanation for most people, which is, incentive to lie. Because if Conor knowingly came into this fight injured and just shit all over one of the biggest events in the history of the UFC after pulling out of his last massive event just weeks before it was meant to happen, costing the promotion millions of dollars, he would have a lot of unhappy partners and might start garnering a reputation for being unreliable. Again, incentive to lie. So let's explore the previous injury theory just a bit. The biggest evidence, it has to be the walkout and pre-fight. Now, I'm no body language expert, and in fact, I think most of that stuff is bullshit. Oh, he's leaning in and his shoulders are curved, so he's gonna lose. Oh, he mogged him.
I be saying that shit sometimes. sometimes.
this
I ain't
stuff
gonna
is
lie.
stupid. But humans, we have certain universal expressions.
Sometimes you
It's
can
how
just tell
actors
between
can
a
pretend
fighter.
to be sad or angry or whatever, and we understand what they're trying to convey, often without words. And Conor McGregor, during that walkout and the pre-fight, a guy who is notoriously possibly the most confident man that has ever existed, looked like a kid trying to play it cool in front of his friends after he just found out his parents are getting a divorce and Santa's not real. I mean, look at these faces he was making. If I told you that any of these that we're about to look at happened after he blew his knee out, you would totally believe me, because it looks like he's dealing with some heavy shit. Look at these. He looks like he just got called up to the front of the class and he's in trouble and he's trying to pretend he doesn't know what for. Here he looks distracted or like he's trying not to think about something. I mean, this one, it looks like his whole life is imploding here. And mind you, this is before
That
the
haircut is
fight.
crazy.
What is this? This sad, longing look off into the crowd, like he's never gonna see them again. The crowd he was waving to like the Queen of England before the fight, looking down again, looking a bit shameful, a bit Charlie Brown. Like, he looks so melancholy here. He looks deeply sad right before he's gonna fight Max Holloway and have the greatest comeback in history. Like, look how hard he's grimacing here. What is happening?
Yeah, like he
did
was
that like
just
4 or 5
unsure of
times in that
himself.
pre-fight period. A lot of people pointed out that other than the stare down when, you know, you gotta put it on and stare at your opponent, Conor just would not look at Max. He'd look anywhere but Max. I think this is the weirdest one because this is right before they're about to engage, and he doesn't look locked in at all. It looks like he's looking off into space. Then there was the moment after the card that John Anik replayed where Conor slips while taking his shoes off to step into the meta Harley Davidson Palantir inspection zone thing. Could it mean he was injured? Well, Brian Sutterer, MD, he's that popular YouTube doctor, he speculated after the event that his awkward way of taking off his shoes and a little trip up could have been behavior to protect a previous injury. Now, could it also mean that it's hard getting your shoes off sometimes? Yeah, that's also a valid read. And the same goes for all the faces he was making. Could he have been looking that way because he knew he had a catastrophic injury that as soon as he went full go was going to ruin his massively hyped comeback? Absolutely.
I think if
Or
the
could all
shoe
those expressions be the
theory
nervous
is
energy of a
correct,
guy who hasn't stepped into the cage
I
yet?
think he injured his foot even before taking off the shoe, like maybe in the locker room or something. And then the injury is what caused him to like trip up uh during when he was taking his shoe off. I don't know, bro.
5
Maybe.
years, and he's about to do so for the first time after a traumatizing and career-altering injury, and he's not sure he has it anymore? It could 100% be that. Could those faces mean absolutely nothing? Yeah, that's also an option. I'm sure
That's
we've all
also
had
true.
someone ask us if we're all right at some point, only to be confused why we were even asked that because we feel totally fine. I will say this, though. It was something that immediately stood out to me as it was happening. This wasn't something I started dissecting after the
But
fight.
no, the way
I
he was
noticed
acting,
it
even
as
acting
an
in the
example.
in the
Yeah, I
octagon,
wasn't
bro,
the only one. Friend of the channel, PC
that's
Girl,
just
who
weird. I
has
mean, he's
probably
never.
covered and knows Conor
I
McGregor
ain't never
better
do
than
that shit before.
anybody on the planet.
Even I
He
know that
clocked it during
as
the
a
pre-fight
casual
as well.
fan.
I think he's a bit worried about his leg already here. Honestly, I think he's looking down at his leg. He's
when it was going to be tipping off.
With Conor here, like he's usually so switched on. He's out waving at the crowd here now.
The wave is
demeanor, no? He looked like he was injured on the way out. That was what I was saying.
Yeah, his demeanor is definitely
Let's
off.
see when he was in that check-in area and he was moving his leg about. I was like, there's something wrong here.
His opponent Max Holloway noticed something seemed off too.
Even with him walking into the octagon, it didn't seem, it just didn't seem like the same Conor, Like, I thought he'd be a little bit more rowdy, a little bit more crazy.
So it's absolutely a plausible argument that Conor came into this fight hurt. But let's talk about why there's a very strong argument for Conor not being injured. Backstage and all of fight week, Conor is moving on that
I was just about to ask that, like, what was
his warm-ups, or
what was he
ran
like
up on
before
Max during the presser and
the
ripped off his
during the
Zuckerberg
press
glasses?
conferences
Does
and
that
stuff.
mean he didn't have a minor injury that he hurt worse during the opening kick? No, but it is something to consider. Also, as many fighters like Sean Strickland pointed out, you would never open with a huge kick if
Right.
you were injured to your knee. You would do everything you could to protect it, which is a valid argument. It would be incredibly reckless to say, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw a giant kick and make an injury even worse that could potentially end your career. And as I mentioned earlier, Conor said he wasn't injured. His pre-fight doom and gloom could very much have just been nerves, which would maybe explain the erratic choice to jump into a massive kick right out of the gate to
That's true.
kickstart himself, to get himself engaged. And maybe that fast start after that calm, somber pre-fight just did his knee dirty. I mean, the guy is 37 years old and he hasn't fought in 5 years. There's no simulation that's going to replicate that movement, that explosion. Even hard sparring is not the same thing. It is not implausible that he would hurt himself doing something that dynamic. Being around his age myself, I'm not joking, I literally strained my calf the other day just moving a basket of laundry across a room. Weird shit starts happening to you when you get old, man. Whatever the case, the one thing we do know know is that his knee was injured in some way. Dr. Sutterer also speculated on the type of injury. He was leaning more towards meniscus tear. Go watch his video for a really good breakdown on it, but he didn't rule out that an ACL injury could have occurred. It sounds like an ACL injury would be a much bigger deal, and that if it were the meniscus, perhaps Conor could return somewhat soon. But, you know, I guess that's the real
ACL,
question here. Is Conor
that shit
going
ain't
to
no joke.
return? Is anybody going to want him to return? Do you even care about the fight with Max anymore? Would you care about it if it was a year from now? 18 months from now? 2 years from now? I'll be honest, I didn't really care about it in the first place. I know people love nostalgia, but this is not the Conor McGregor of 2016 that
That's
was
true.
a decade ago. Not to mention, the fight didn't really mean anything anyway. Why is Max fighting at 170? I mean, I suppose Conor could have won and got a title fight from it, but there's no point in speculating on
This
that
is,
at
you know what's crazy? This is dead ass similar. Well, I ain't gonna say similar because Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao will be fighting for two different reasons, I think, than Conor McGregor coming back to UFC. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm not fully into the stories of why Conor McGregor came back into the UFC. You know, obviously maybe he just loves fighting, and just obviously he doesn't need the money. I don't think he's broke or anything. I don't think he needs the money. But I wanted to say this is kind of similar to the Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao thing. You know, in boxing, right? You know, the cutoff for boxers are usually between the ages of, I want to say, 37 to 40. That's usually when the top boxers stop boxing and, you know, honestly retire. And obviously Mayweather, he retired at 40. Manny Pacquiao, he actually, you know, started, he didn't even stop boxing until about, I want to say, maybe 42. I want to say he stopped boxing at 42. And actually, maybe older than that. I don't know. I forget how old he is now, but I want to say he stopped boxing at 42. But they got all they could out of boxing. You know, if they was to come back now, they would not. Neither one of the guys, neither one of Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather would beat any of the top guys in a weight class. Yeah, Manny Pacquiao came back. I'm saying that now, but Manny Pacquiao did come back and beat. In my opinion, he did beat Mario Barrios, but Mario Barrios was the weakest champion at 147. It's kind of a contradiction, but that's fucking Mario Barrios, bro. That don't count. That don't count. But right now, they will not be any of the top guys in my opinion at 147. That has a belt at 1. Fuck, Ryan Garcia is the champion at 147, ain't he? Damn. They wouldn't beat nobody but Ryan Garcia at 147. I think most, like, if the fight that they were trying to have with each other is much more of a money grab than, you know, obviously the love of boxing, you know, the love of fighting. I think that would just be a money grab. So I'm saying all this to say, will Conor McGregor come back because he would love the fight again, or is it just a money grab? Which I don't personally think that it is. I mean, I don't think Conor McGregor is broke or anything, so I don't think that it is. I don't think Manny Pacquiao is broke. I know fucking Floyd Mayweather's fucking. I don't. He's probably not broke, but I know he's going through a lot of legal troubles right now, and he kind of need that money. So.
And found peace and religion, and he talked the part all week long. Well, as my mom always told me, words mean absolutely nothing. It's your actions that define you. Or maybe that was the lady in Batman. Either way, Conor McGregor is at a massive crossroads here when it comes to this new image he has. Because it is easy to do when things are going well, but he just had one of the worst moments of his career. Is this going to set him back on a path towards destruction? I guess we're gonna find out. Tom Cruise said something really interesting after the fight.
His lifestyle is still terrible though. Like,
he said that he thought Conor
McGregor has a terrible fucking lifestyle.
Can't save you, which is really interesting because I remember way back Cruise saying that he took time when he was out for years because of his own knee issues to try and learn to live without fighting, to figure out who he was if he wasn't a fighter, because that injury made him understand that he wasn't always going to be one. It wasn't always going to be there to save you, to define who you were. If Conor is out for a long time again, and hell, even if he's not, this has to take a toll on his psyche. psyche. The last 3 fights associated with him, going back 5 whole years, have been unmitigated
Yeah, it's
disasters.
bad.
There is absolutely no way that doesn't weigh on him if he tries to get back in the cage again, or if he has to live with that being the last of what he ever did as a fighter. But like everything we've speculated on here, only time will tell. And that was the return of Conor McGregor, apparently. Couldn't have put this video together for you to watch the very next morning if it wasn't for the incomparable Max.
Yo, man, shout out to MMA on Point, bro. You know, they were one of the first UFC channels that I've ever subscribed to. Shout out to them, man. But man, you know, it sucks, bro. You know, Conor McGregor, it sucks that he was such a great fighter and an amazing entertainer that he has to. I personally think he should retire after this, but you know, obviously it's the UFC, so you never know. But it sucks that he has to go out on you know this way. Like I don't think he's able to beat any of the top guys in MMA right now. Like even as a casual fan, even I know that. Um, you know, MMA Point said, you know, he's 37, you know, and he hasn't won a fight in I want to say at least 5 years. So, damn man, you know, it's sad. It's definitely sad to see. But let me know what y'all think, man. That's the end of this video. Catch y'all later.